All right, welcome to my channel. Today I will be recapping BMF Season 2, Episode 5. All right, so rewinding back to their childhood, the family is taking a road trip somewhere out of the state of Michigan, and Meech and Terry are arguing. Charles is threatening to whoop them, and Lucille turned on the cassette player so that they could all sing gospel music. All right, fast forward to the 1980s. Meech and Terry are on their way to Toledo, and they're singing a gospel song that they sung on a road trip when they were kids. And then there's a message from Big Terry or Older Terry that stated that in his English class, they read a poem about two roads diverging, and you can't travel both. You have to pick a path and stick with it. All right, so Jen is speaking with Denise, and she let her know that their boss agreed for them to work with the DA to get her a lighter sentence. So Detective Bryant let her know that Michigan is a 650 lifer state, and if anyone in that state gets caught with any drugs that are above 650 grams, it is an automatic 20 to life. Detective Bryant said that Denise was caught with 3 keys, which is 3,000 grams, and if she doesn't help them, then she will never get out of jail. They knew that Denise works for the Flannery family, but they wanted her to tell them if she was transporting for them. In comes Monique, and Monique told Jen and Brian to get out, and she wanted to speak with her client in private. And Brian asked, like, who are you? And Monique just basically told him that if he didn't leave, he would be violating her client's right to counsel, and that could also lead to him getting any case that he has thrown out. All right, so Denise asked Monique if she was her lawyer, and Monique said not exactly, but she does work for a law firm, and she's there to help her. Monique looked into Denise's case and told her that she was looking at jail time no matter what, but she does have friends. So Denise asked if her friends are covering her fees, and Denise's fees are covered, and her friends will continue to look over her and her son financially. If she does what needs to be done, then her son's college would be paid off. But if Meech and Terry went away, that'll be bad for everybody. So Monique gave her card, and she told her to look over the offer that they were giving her, but don't take too long, and then give her a call. All right, so Terry and Meech found James and his Juicy Jerry curl smoking in the parking lot and his new whip. Terry pulled him out of the car. Meech let him know that he knew he shouldn't have trusted him and that he know that he hawked his product and bought a new car with the money. So Meech, he beat him up until Terry told him to chill out because Meech was bleeding from the gunshot wound that he had. And Meech, he took James' keys and he drove off in his car. All right, so Lucille wanted Charles to go with her and Nicole to the church retreat. And Charles, he wasn't feeling it because things were going badly in his business as well as the family. And he didn't feel like being preached to. So Lucille, she asked Nicole to go upstairs. And I'm just like, me and Nicole, we are tired of y'all sending her upstairs every time y'all have a disagreement. Y'all don't think the girl can hear y'all upstairs? Anyway. Charles said it ain't like Nicole hasn't heard any of this before. I just said that too. And Nicole, she went upstairs, and Charles, he left out of the room. So at this point, Charles seems to be over it. Lucille, she decided to search Charles's guitar case to see if he still had those adult magazines, but he moved them out of there. So it looks like Charles took Pastor Swift suggestion after all, huh? And hid those nasty magazines in a better spot. Charles got to be more careful. I guess he won't Lucille won't catch him slipping again, huh? So I also noticed that Lucille always wear boots every episode. What's up with that? All right. Meech mentioned that they took James's car to a chop shop and they got 15 G's from it. Terry wondered if Earl and ATL would let them cop with that. And Meech, he found Terry's school book in the car and he threw it out of the window. Of course, Terry wanted to pull over and get the book, but Meech told him that he needs to keep his head in the game and that school was a distraction and that was his problem. He needed to be focused on Denise because if she didn't take their offer, they would be SOL. All right, so Lamar is pulling a Debo on this guy. He took his chain and his money, and he let him know that he's running the streets now since the Flannery boys are gone. I don't know why they so scared of this dude, man. It's just one Lamar. One. All right, so Meech and Terry and Earl are at the table discussing business. Meech let Earl know that he only had 15 G's to his name and that he needed to cop from him. Since it's a drought, Earl did not want to do that. And Terry was like, well, I know it's some kind of way you can help us. And Meech reminded Earl that he used his own body to transport the product from Vegas to Detroit so that Earl could get paid. So Earl was like, all right, so there's a rumor of a guy named Paint who could turn one bird into two. Of course, Terry didn't believe that guy existed, and he wanted Earl to find him the hottest place where they were having dice games. So Earl asked Terry if he was planning to rob somebody, and Mitch was like, no, Terry just want to use the money so he can make some money. So Earl said that he could help him with that. All right, so they're getting ready to go on the church retreat. Charles is saying his goodbye to Nicole, and Sister Riley walks over to them, and then she asks Charles, was he coming? Charles was like, nah, I ain't coming. And, Sister Riley was disappointed. And she said that she wanted to go over some music with him while they was on the trip. So Charles said that, they could go over some music another time. Lucille, of course, she's insecure because of what she witnessed at church last time with them playing the instruments and smiling on each other's face. She felt very insecure. And she took this moment to kiss Charles on the lip and tell him that she loved him. Now she's getting on the church van with Lucille. I mean, not with Lucille, with Miss Sister Riley. And she's looking back at Charles. I don't know if she's trying to see if he looking at her or looking at Sister Riley or just trying to see his reaction to her foolishness she just did. Because you and your husband beefing. All right. So Meech is in stripper's heaven. He's liking all the bucket naked strippers that are in there. So Earl had them to wait, him and Terry to wait. He wanted to go talk to somebody real quick. So Terry wanted Meech to focus, and Meech wanted Terry to relax. And I think that my opinion on this is that, Terry is focused on the money, and he doesn't want to see any other women besides Markeisha because Homegirl put it on him. Anyway, Meech, they started talking about, their baby mamas and how LaWanda has been the best girl Terry has ever met or been with. And then Terry said that he felt the same way about Meech's baby mamas. And Meech said that Laura was doing fine and Monique was still tripping over the Lamar situation. And Terry asked if she was still playing with her nose. And he was concerned about that because Monique is basically the lifeline between them and Denise with helping them get out of their drug situation. So Meech was like, Lamar and Monique, they met. Not they met, but they used to party together back in the day, and they latched on some kind of way, but he don't understand it, and he ain't even trying to understand it. So Terry said that it was hard to tell why people fall for each other, but it just happens. And really, he was talking about himself. So Meech, he picked up on what Terry was putting down, and Meech asked him, and actually he called Terry a one-tap Terry, and asked him who he caught feelings for. And of course, Terry didn't say who it was because, Terry is actually married, actually messing with a married woman who he used as a connect. So like that's just two times bad. Anyway, I just wonder if or when he would tell Meech, or how would Meech actually find out, because we all know that Meech will not approve. All right, so Earl called Meech and Terry to the back, and that's where Goldie is having words with a guy named Leon who wants to play another game, and Goldie's refusing him to play another game. So he's upset with her and he's disrespecting her, and eventually she had enough and she slapped him. Well, she didn't slap him. She picked up a bottle and beat him on the back of the head with it. Meech tried to pay Goldie a comment and kiss her on the hand, but Goldie wasn't having it. And she could also tell by the rat tails on the back of their heads that they're not from Atlanta. So Goldie introduced herself to Meech and Terry. Terry said that he wanted to get in on a dice game, two dice, but the man told him that you have to get in. The minimum for that game is a G. So immediately hearing that Terry wanted to play, Goldie started walking over there to the table where he was. And Junior told him that he needs to find some action more of his speed. And Goldie was like, if Terry wants some action, well, yeah, I think she called him Terry. If he wanted some action, give him some action. So Terry, he put down $7,500 for the next roll. All right, Junior said that Terry was feeling lucky. So Junior, he signaled to the man across the table to change the dice. So Meech is over there in the corner. He made a bet as well. So Terry, he blew on the dice, he rolled, and he lost the money. Terry asked Meech for the rest of the cash, and Meech said that he made a side bet because Terry said that he was going to be able to win. So he lost the money as well, his money. I think they only had like $1,000 left. So Meech wanted to go holler at Earl about it, but Terry was like, don't even worry about it because Earl was in on it from jump. All right, so Charles is over to Mabel's house fixing something again. This dude, I don't know why he don't fix up at his own house, honey. He got plenty of things at his house that needs to be fixed, but he refuses to fix them because he's at Mabel's house, right? So anyway, Mabel's like, you don't stop, huh? And Charles was like, he didn't see the point of sitting at an empty house, and he would be done fixing things around our house in a few days. So my thought is, Charles, you could have went to the retreat. You could have visited some friends or family. I mean, why do you like being at Mabel's house so much? You enjoy those compliments I know he enjoyed those compliments that she gave him the last time he was there, and he enjoyed that dancing too. But anyway, so Mabel asked him if he had anything to eat. It just seemed like she's just trying to do something to keep him at that house longer. So John was like, nah, I don't want nothing to eat. And Mabel, she said that she thanked him and his wife for being so neighborly towards her since she moved in after her divorce. So Mabel, she let she said that if Charles ever needed to talk to her about anything, that she was gonna be there for him. And my thoughts is, this whole just want she just want him to drop his guard. She doesn't want him to suspect that she's trying to holler at him on the cool. But Charles, like, he was about to leave, and she apologized for upsetting him. And because, at the end of the day, this whole got to play the game slowly with Charles. She can't just be all, aggressive with him. Not yet, anyway. So, Charles was just saying that, working at Mabel House, that relaxes him. And she was like, well, since you need a distraction, I'm going to invite you to my party. I seen you dance, and I know that you have a wild child on the inside of you that's waiting to get out. Mama trying to get him, honey. All right, so Charles was like he was gonna think about it and he would let her know. So of course, I still think that this is a scheme that Todd set up to come to him with the bullshit. Charles is going through tough times in his professional and personal life, and I know his balls are blue at this point. And he's Mabel. I think she can tell that he's not happy at home, and she plotting on him. You could tell. Look at that. Look at her facial expression. She want him. All right. Detective Jen brought Kevin in to speak to his dad. And Detective Brian, he noticed that Kevin did not have on any shoes, just some dirty socks. So Kevin, he said, yeah, he thought it would have been a whole lot easier for him to come to his dad's job than to walk home. Meanwhile, Nosy Jen is outside pretending to work, and she's watching them, probably reading their lips, right? So Detective Brian asked Kevin if he hit the boy like he told him to do, and Kevin said he ain't do it. So Detective Brian was like, I'm gonna put you in some type of self-defense class. But Kevin, of course, he didn't want to do it because he said he don't like sports. What the hell, Kevin? Detective Brian was just trying to tell him, like, if you do not fight back, you will continue to be bullied for the rest of your life. I mean, Kevin is so naive. I mean, he's a kid, right?
But why does Detective Bryant listen to him so much when he talks like that? Like it's foolishness that's coming out of his mouth. He doesn't know any better. He has to be guided and told those things. And so Detective Bryant is so aggressive with B. Mickey and other people. I just don't understand how he don't know how to be a little more aggressive to his son. I get it. Your son wants you to listen to him. But it's a fine line. You gotta know when to step up and to sit back. And he just he just let Kevin do too much. Kevin is hurting and thinking that these problems are gonna go away on their own. They're not gonna go away on their own. You can't pray them away. You can't wish them away. They're going to continue to stay there until you fight. But for some reason, Kevin, he's young. He don't get that. You do. You know better. I would definitely put that ninja in a class. Anyway, so Detective Brian said okay, and he pulled up, and he said he was gonna pull up to the school. Kevin, of course, he didn't want him to do that because he felt like the situation was resolved. Child. Oh, Kevin, you don't get it, baby. But anyway, Detective Brian, he said that he wasn't gonna negotiate with him about going to the school because he's not gonna sit back and do nothing and watch these kids just bully him and take his shoes. And he pointed at the fact that Kevin doesn't even have any shoes on, and that's the whole point of why he's going up to the school because this is a problem. How is the problem resolved, right? So Kevin, he said that Detective Brian doesn't listen to him, and he's always thinks that he's right about everything. Well, nigga, you ain't right now. All right, so this is the guy Lamar Punk last season when he first got out of the institution because Lamar wanted to order some loose burgers, but they stopped selling them. So now they sell them again because Lamar beat him up and he bullies the guy, right? So Lamar, he gets his food for free, and Alvin is over there complaining because he's not getting his food free. Alvin is low key impressed that Lamar is getting free food, and Lamar was like, he's just getting what he deserved. And Alvin was like, well, what you gonna do when Meech and Terry return to Detroit? And Lamar said that you know, he would not leave this earth until he bodies Meech. So this guy walks in, he puts some money on the table. Then Alvin asks him if they needed a Lamar tax to it. So he put some more money on the table, and Alvin was like, so that's all you got? So the guy, he put some more money on the table. So Alvin is low-key loving punking people and being a bully just like Lamar. Lamar was saying that, he's not having any fun because he doesn't have his queen, which is Monique, and she has his heart. I swear I hate bullying with a passion. Alvin and Lamar seems to be two peas in a pod. I don't know if Alvin ever bodied anyone for as being unalive. Um, but I mean, of course, he definitely does it to them sexually and professionally. So, I mean, Lamar is one of those guys that I know a lot of people do not like. They are afraid of him, but even if they are afraid, I don't understand why they just won't team up and take him out. It's only one Lamar, and it's so many other people that he's doing it to. I just need y'all to get this done. I'm over Lamar right now. So Terry is having doubts about being in Atlanta. And Meech is mad at Terry because Terry lost the money. But Meech also needs to be mad at himself because he helped lose the rest of the money, minus $1,000 that's left. So anyway, Meech came to Atlanta with a goal in mind. He plans to accomplish that goal. Meech believes in himself and in Terry and what they can do together. Meech was trying to instill in his brother that anything that's meant to be will happen. So then Meech had an idea to call Ty Washington. So Detective Bryant and Kevin are at school waiting to speak to someone. Detective Bryant saw Miss Carmichael in the hallway and asked for help regarding Kevin being bullied at school. Miss Carmichael told him that he needed to set an appointment, but Detective Bryant was not trying to set an appointment. He needed this done today about Marcus Lloyd bullying and stealing from Kevin. And Miss Carmichael was like, so Kevin, is that true? And Kevin saw Marcus and some friends and his friends in the hallway, and he was like, no. So Miss Carmichael said if Kevin could not confirm what his daddy was saying as true and no staff member came forward, it was nothing that she could do for him. So Detective Brian, of course, he's mad at Kevin for not speaking up, and Kevin is looking at the bullies. He is frightened. I wonder if Kevin thinks that if an adult step in, would it make the situation worse? I think something's bad's going to happen to Kevin. Either he's going to do something to himself, or he's going to do something, get fed up enough and do something to his bully, and it may go too far, life changing. Somebody may be unalive or something like that. I think he's going to go in on them superpowers that his daddy say he got. All right, so Meech and Terry had a good time at the game with Ty. They were impressed by all the black people that were there on the college campus, and they enjoyed the black experience, which made Terry want to go to college. And Meech, he enjoyed how people were able to ride around in their nice cars in Atlanta and not have to hide them like they do in Detroit. So Ty asked if they still played hot potato. Meech said that they do, and Meech had to walk away for a moment because he ended up getting a phone call. And Ty said that he was going to give his address to Terry so they could stop by the next day. All right, so Meech is on the phone with Monique, who informed him that Denise is accepting his offer and she needed her first payment. Meech said that was cool, and he asked if people were still checking in on her. And she said that they stopped by from time to time, and then she wanted to know when he was coming back. Meech, of course, he does not know that just yet, but he did ask, was it still snowing there? And Monique said that she saved his company's ass and don't think she won't save her own. All right, so Commander Mars let everyone know that Denise Gunnarsson is eating the charges. Her lawyer went to the DA, who agreed to let her plead to possession on less than 650 grams. Of course, this upset everybody in the room. And Commander Mars, she's also upset because the task force has allowed theft and violent crimes to escalate during a drug drought, and their jobs are on the line, especially hers. And Bryant, he said that everybody has been working hard, but Commander Mars, she sees things differently. She was like, since Brian and Jen haven't produced anything, Timmons is up next. So Timmons got up and he let everybody know that Lenora Big L Pescado has been reported missing, and the biggest person of interest is Lawrence Candy, aka K9. So Jen, she let everybody know that K9 is a known trafficker from the Brewster Projects. Timmons, he said that K9's name came up from a shooting that took place at the Saint, and he also owns a Dairy Queen that was shot up last week. There aren't any eyewitnesses on either of those shootings. Commander Mars, she wants them to go back out there, work harder because their jobs are on the line. So it's no surprise to me that K9 is a suspect because he committed those murders in front of a crowd. So everyone out there either saw it or they were told by someone who did see who it was. If there aren't any eyewitnesses, then how do the task force have K9 as a major person of interest? As far as they know, the shooting at the Saint and Dairy Queen could be unrelated events. We don't know that. So Detective Jen is disappointed that the Flunnery boys got Denise to eat those charges. And Detective Brian was like, added to the list. I think he's been trying to get him so long. I think he's a little bit exhausted. Anyway, so Jen asked what he meant, and Brian said nothing, and that he had something on his mind. Jen was like, I need transparency from you. And Detective Brian was like, this did not apply because it's something that is personal. And Detective Jen was like, well, your personal life can affect you while we're out on the field, and you're supposed to have my back there. And if you're thinking about your son, that's a distraction. So Detective Brian looked at her like, what? Like, I ain't never talked to you about that. And she was like, well, I could see your interactions with your son that something was wrong. So she began telling him about her older sister, Michelle, who was in a relationship with a guy who put hands on her, but she did not want her parents to know because he was white. And Jen,
Jen's sister was beaten unalive in front of several witnesses, and no one came forward or tried to help, and this is why she became a cop. And I think this also bothered her about the shooting that occurred at the Saint, because it was a bunch of people out there and nobody saw anything. And I remember that. I think that's the first, second episode. She was so irritated about that. But anyway, Detective Jen said taking garbage off the street is one thing, but if you can't make the world a safer place for the ones you love, then what are you doing? And I think this sparked an idea in Brian's head. And Brian said that he agreed and that he needed some time to clear his head. And of course, Jen, she was okay with that. All right, so Lamar thought it was going to be a good idea for him to come to Monique's house. Monique pulled a strap out on him and told him to get off of her property. Lamar let her know that he just wanted to talk and that he know that he messed up, but he would never hurt her or Zoe. But Monique reminded him, like, look, you forgot you put your hands on me in front of my daughter and you shot Meech. And Lamar, he was irritated that Monique was defending Meech. Lamar believes that Meech is no different from him and that Meech is a monster. Lamar showed Monique his colostomy bag and spoke on how his insides are messed up because of Meech. And Monique, of course, she looked grossed out looking at that shit in that bag. Lamar said that he wanted to make love to Monique, but he knows that he can't right now because he's recovering. And I'm thinking, like, nigga, she never even said she wanted to do you anyway. So where you get that from? So anyway, Monique, she wanted to be clear and let him know that he will never touch her again, ever. Lamar believed that he survived for a reason and he has a second chance at life and he's grateful and that he just wants his family back. Monique told Lamar that she sent Zoe away because Zoe is scared of him, which we know that's a freaking lie. Lamar wanted Zoe to come back home because he believes that taking kids away from their mother will cause them to be messed up. When Lamar's mom passed, it did mess him up, and all he wanted was revenge. Lamar wanted Monique to think about what he was saying, and then Monique shut the door in his face. It's funny how Lamar feels that he is the good person and Meech is a monster when he's the one that's mistreating and bullying people out in the streets. And I mean, I know that Meech is destroying the community, but Meech is really a businessman when it comes down to it, and Lamar is just strictly a thug. It's crazy how Lamar can be so hot and cold with Monique. You know, one day he's hitting on her and being aggressive to her, and the next he may be writing a poetry or "Baby, I'm sorry." That's just so crazy. He got that kind of Joker mentality. Well, not mentality. Yes, I say mentality. He's two-faced. I get it. All right, so B Mickey is at home smoking per usual, and he heard a knock at the door. B. Mickey is annoyed because he already knows it's Detective Brian that's doing the knocking. So he's hollering at the door on his way to answering the door to let Detective Brian in. Before he could let him in, he was just like, look, Terry and Meech are out of town and nobody's talking about it. So as they're walking inside of his place, he tells Detective Brian that he's tired of him always coming around him. And Detective Brian let him know that, he didn't come there for Meech and Terry and that he needed him for something else. My thoughts on this. Do y'all think that B. Mickey's attitude, he definitely has an attitude, and I understand why he has an attitude. He's frustrated with Detective Brian for invading his space. But I'm just wondering, like, do you think he's gonna be leaving town or something like that? He's over Detective Bryant. I also think that he's tired of Meech as well because he was supposed to be the number two guy, but now Terry's back, so now that he's depromoted. Were demoted. And of course, other members, even when they merge, those members don't respect B. Mickey either. So I know that his mom is in a long term care facility. So I don't know. I just feel like something's up. I don't know what it is yet. All right. So Meech and Terry arrive at Ty Washington's spot. They are impressed because the stash house looks nice and they're hiding in plain sight. So Ty introduced them to Carl. They're eventually sitting on the couch, and Ty wanted to know the real reason why they were down there. And Meech said that they don't have, well, they need product, but they don't have any money because they lost it in a dirty dice game. So Ty was like, it's pretty difficult moving in places that you don't know the lay of the land. And me and Terry thought that, they did have somebody that they were connected to, but that person played them. That was Earl. Meech told Ty that he heard a rumor there's a guy named Paint out there who could whip one bird into two. And Ty was like, where you heard that from? Meanwhile, Ty and Carl are locking eyes like they heard of this guy before. And Meech said that Ty and him have been running and gunning since Detroit. And he should know that Meech would not be down there for no reason. So Ty was like, you need some money to cop. And Meech told him that he needed 10 keys until he could get back on his feet. And Ty said he couldn't do that in no drought. Meech is out here pocket watching or whatever because he looking around at all the nice things inside the house and outside the house. And he was like, Ty, you got it to give. Ty asked Meech if anybody else took the bet. And Meech was like, no. So Ty told him that he needed to get some money and he'll try to find the guy Paint for him. Meech had a problem because Meech was like, he only got $1,000 to his name and he don't know how he can get some more money. So Terry wanted Ty to hook them up with a gambling spot. But Ty told Terry not to do that because that's just like flushing your money down the toilet. So now they back to square one.
There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house.
All right, so Charles is ready for the party. He comes in and Mabel gives him a hug and she's surprised that he actually came. She asked him why did he change his mind? And he was like, he needed to blow some steam off. So Charles, he started, having him a good time, dancing with Mabel, all close on each other. And she offered him a drink. And Charles was like, I don't drink. And Mabel, being the devil that she is, she said, Charles, you a grown ass man. And Mabel told him that if one drink turns Charles into an animal, she promised to get him under control. So my take on this is I can see why this hoe is divorced. She doesn't respect her marriage or his marriage. And more than likely, she didn't probably respect her own. Charles' interactions with Mabel is kind of weird. Charles seems like he's aware that her behavior is inappropriate, but he still likes it and he goes along with it and he doesn't stop her. He should have been checked her. But anyway, I wonder if this is his first time flirting or cheating on Lucille because he's kind of giving me I don't usually do this vibes. Anyway, another hoe comes over to him and she thanked Mabel for inviting Charles to the party because she said they hit the jackpot. And while she's doing it, she's grabbing Charles's butt. And of course, he didn't do anything about it. He didn't stop her. He just, I think his meat jumped when she did it, child. Anyway, Charles' whole ass, he knows what's going on. Mabel, she told Charles to let's go outside and get some air. And the look on her face, like she was like, I'm gonna get him. I just got a question. Is this a hoe gathering? Ooh, Miss Lucille, there's some hoes in this house. All right, so they arrive back at the church, and Lucille, she comes up with an excuse for Nicole to get her luggage and take them to the car while she speaks to Sister Riley. So Lucille, she wanted Sister Riley to answer a question honestly. And Sister Riley was like, I don't have a problem with that. So Lucille, she asked her if she was sleeping with her husband. And Sister Riley said, of course not. If she was, she wasn't going to tell you, girl. All right, so Lucille thought by the way that they were looking at each other during the church performances that they actually had something going on. And Sister Riley was like, she didn't have a clue what Lucille was talking about. She hadn't done anything with him or anybody else at the church. And Lucille felt like she was playing her for a fool because she knows how Sister Riley goes around the church showing herself off to all the men at the church. Sister Riley said that when she was young, she made some mistakes. I'm assuming perhaps she had a little hoe phase. But anyway, she said that she found her way back to the church. And when she said that, Lucille, looking like, oh man, I done messed up. But anyway, she assured Lucille that nothing was going on with Charles and that, Lucille just apologized to her because she believed her. Mm. All right, so Goldie and what I assume is her employee are coming out of the building, and Goldie told the man to go home and to hug his girls and to tell them to always have each other's backs. So I don't know if we're going to see Goldie's sister or not, but I'll put a pin in it for later. So the man asked why she said that, and she said because she meant it. And the man wanted Goldie to get in her car and drive off, and then he was going to get in his. But Goldie said that she didn't need his help because she had that thing on her, and he could go ahead and leave. And he did just that. And Goldie's now in her car. She's looking in the mirror, and then some headlights shine in her face, and she can't see, and she's reaching for her weapon. But Meech told her, don't do that. So Terry then opens up the passenger side door, and he removes her weapon from the car. And Goldie, for some reason, I guess she thought that they were trying to rob her. But Meech was letting her know that they're not trying to rob her. They just want to use her to win a game so that they can get their money back that she actually took from them earlier that day when they were gambling. And Goldie said that she wasn't running the game that night, but Terry said that he knew that she knows where a game is being held. So Goldie said this is the ATL and ain't nothing free here. And Meech was cool with giving Goldie some money as long as him and Terry were straight first. So Goldie tells them about a game being held in Bankhead, and that game is being ran by Mike. All right, so Mabel thanked Charles for staying and helping her clean up after the party. Charles could not remember the last time he had fun like he did that night. So anyway, Mabel said that he's allowed to have a good time, and sometimes he has to treat himself to something that he wants. And this bitch was really talking about her. She was trying to treat herself to some Charles. So anyway, Charles, he picked up what she was putting down, at least it seemed like it. And Mabel said that he didn't have to go anywhere. And she stood in front of him to prevent him from leaving. And somehow or another, they ended up in an entanglement and started kissing. And Charles gave her approximately 10 pumps. I know he gave her more than 5, but I definitely believe it was less than 20. And then he was out of there like yesterday. My issue is that, of course, he's married, but he didn't even use a rubber. And now he gonna throw off Lucille's pH balance with those polluted pumps that he was giving her. So my question is, do you think Charles is a quick pumper or was that just a quickie? And I hope that he didn't get this whole pregnant or catch an STD. But from the looks of it, when he was done, Mabel seemed to be highly satisfied with what he has done. I can't tell what be going on with Charles's face. It's like he has regret. Then you can tell it looks like he has regret on his face, and then it looks like he likes it at the same time. He confuses me. I guess maybe two things can be true at the same time. Charles was really acting like it was his. Even D Wiz lasted longer. His very first time in Raising Canaan. Mabel biting those lips. That girl gonna be all over Lucille's husband, low key flirting with him and touching on Charles. I can definitely tell that Mabel wants her another helping of Charles. I think this whole is going to be a lot of trouble, and I cannot wait till the kids and Lucille find out. All right, so Terry is already in the gambling spot before Meech and Goldie arrive. Goldie and Meech, they come in together. He's introduced to Fat Mike, and Goldie told him that Meech was interested in betting high stake. So
Mike wanted to know if Goldie was going to vouch for him, and Goldie said that she wouldn't be here if she wasn't. So Mike, he asked Meech his name, and he said that it's Rico Seville. And Mike said that he was cool with Rico playing as long as he had some money. So everybody's at the table gambling, and Meech has the dirty dice pretending to roll them, but he really was rolling the dirty dice to Terry, aka Jerome. So Terry was winning. He was doing a lot of winning. So this got Mike's attention and he kept watching him. And Mike started looking at Goldie and Goldie's looking at Mike. And I think Goldie suspects that that Mike may be on to them. So Mike stopped the game and he said that he suspected that Rico and Jerome were working together. And Mike, he took the dice and he asked for some new dice. So Mike told Jerome, aka Terry, that he wanted to see if he was still lucky with the new dice. And if he was not, he was gonna murk him and Rico. And he wasn't gonna be effing with Goldie anymore. Now, mind you, Meech is at the table sweating like a hoe in church. So Terry takes the dice and he rolls 7, Southwest all day. So Mike is pissed. And Goldie, she gets all in Mike's face, being fake mad, saying, how dare he question her integrity. Mike just wanted just wanted them to get their money and get out of his face. All right, so Charles is recollecting on his sexual relations that he just had with Mabel. He's smiling, I guess, at all the moves he was putting in. Anyway, so Lucille and Nicole are home from the retreat, and Charles was like, "Hey, baby." And Nicole, she came and she gave her daddy a hug and went on by her business. And Lucille gave Charles a hug as well, and she told him that she hasn't been paying attention to how he's been feeling, and she wanted them to get their groove back. And Charles looked at her like, "Girl, I done cheated now." So Lucille, she asked him, was he all right, by the way he was looking at him. Charles was like, he just had a long day. Lucille is feeling a little freaky. She said that the day was not over yet, and she was grabbing his face. And Charles, he grabbed her hands and had them removed from his face, and then he walked off. Charles didn't want Lucille to get too close to him and smell that sex on him.
So Meech and Terry are at Ty's house with the money, and they were disappointed about the amount of product that Ty was giving them because they thought at least they were expecting twice of what he was giving them. But due to it being a drought, Ty was like, "This is what you will get for the money that you're giving me, and you could take it or leave it." All right, so Meech is being, the businessman that he is, and he figured out that Carl is actually Paint, and he was asking him how much for the whip method. And Carl was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Terry saw the way that Carl, or aka Paint, was measuring the sugar in the kitchen like a mad scientist, so he knows that it's definitely him. Terry did notice how Paint was sizing him up the other day, trying to see if he wanted to F with him or not. Carl's concern about the whip method is that he has a special skill, and the more people find out about what he does, the less special that he'll become. Terry was not about to tell Carl's secret to anybody. And plus he told him that they're not his competition anyway. They live out of state, and they're going to pay him for his time. Since Paint was impressed by how much money they took from Fat Mike, he said that they had to be some real ones, and he decided to charge them the price of a bird. So Meech and Terry had a little powwow to the side, and Meech was telling Terry that he's not going to like his idea because he wanted Terry to give up his car and his pink slip because he felt like they didn't have any other choice because they don't know when the drought will end, and of course Terry was not feeling that. All right, so Dirty Dick Charles done washed his meat off when he took a shower. Now he's ready for a second round, but this time with his wife. So he's staring at the lingerie Lucille has on that she bought with Nicole's credit card. And I'm over here wondering, did he brush his teeth too? Because, he kissed Mabel all in the mouth. So he's kissing Lucille, and then they doing the do. I think I counted about approximately 14 pumps he gave her. I think he gave her a little bit more than Mabel. So I'm just hoping, he ain't polluting the kitty box and throwing off that balance, honey, because that's important. So Lucille, she looked very satisfied. Charles looked like he enjoyed it, but then he looked confused. I'm just trying to figure out whose Tootsie Cat is better, Charles. Mr. King Diggerling out here pleasing 2 women in one night. At least he washed it off. All right. So Paint said that Cocaine is a girl and you have to talk to her just like you would any other. Paint showed Meech and Terry the whip method, and then Terry got in there and he started whipping too. All right. So B. Mickey walked up to 3 guys asking which one was Marcus. Marcus let it be known that it was him, and B. Mickey told him to leave Kevin Bryant alone. Marcus wanted to know what B. Mickey was going to do because it was 3 of them against him. So B. Mickey swung on Marcus, started beating him up, and he told his friends, "Try me." And Marcus's friends, being the friends that they are, they just stood there and watched. So my take on this is that, this could end badly for B. Mickey. We don't know if Marcus has people or not. And it's not like that. It's not like B. Mickey could call Meech or anybody from BMF to help him due to it being for Detective Bryant. They did take the time to show us B. Mickey's car. I don't know if Marcus knows who B. Mickey is, but he definitely knows what kind of car he drives. All right, so Terry was worried at first if ATL was the right direction for him. He was glad that Meech pushed him out of his comfort zone and they won. So, Meech was like, well, that's what brothers do. And Meech said, it sounds like you're back in BMF. Terry was saying that he never left, but he's back in 100% now. And they pounded out, boom, to the tune. Okay, so Lucille is making an apple pie for Daddy, who put it on her last night. When she hears a knock at the door, she's asking Nicole to come down to answer the door, but Nicole, for whatever reason, didn't. And she had a knife in her hand she was using to cut the apples, and she was about to put the knife in her pocket, but she decided to leave it on the counter and go to the door. She answered the door without looking out the peephole, the window, or whatever. This woman, you live in the hood. Why are you doing that? But anyway, guess who it is? It's Lamar. She caught the vibe that Lamar was giving her, and she knew something was wrong. She reached in her pocket to get the knife, but she realized she left it in the kitchen. So Lamar asked if she was Meech and Terry's mom, and she said that she was, and he said that they hurt him really bad. And Lucille, she apologized and said maybe they should pray together. And Lamar was like, maybe we shouldn't. And Nicole, she finally came downstairs and she saw it was Lamar. She was scared. And Lucille, she grabbed Lamar's hands to pray. All right, so Meech and Terry, they put the work in the back trunk of a red rental car. And Terry, he's still mad that he had to give up his car. Terry, your car was already wrecked. Anyway, Meech reminded Terry that they came down here and got everything they went down there to get. And then Nicole calls Terry and she told him that Lamar is at their house. And Meech and Terry, they said that they were on their way. Now, I'm trying to, dude, y'all are 10 hours away. I don't know what you can do for Nicole or Lucille 10 hours away. But I'm trying to figure out where's Roland and Hoop. I think Roland lives across the street. We haven't seen Dink in a few episodes. Where's Dink? All right. So Lamar reached in the back of his pants to get the strap. And Lucille grabbed his hands aggressively so that he wouldn't shoot or murder her or Nicole. Lucille started the prayer, and eventually the prayer actually touched Lamar. I think it was more so that God had a plan for him, talking about forgiveness and vengeance belonging to God. So after the prayer, Lamar left. Won't he do it? Prayer definitely changes things, and it saves some lives. Shout out to God. And that's it, guys. I thank you all, and I can't wait for the next episode. Thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate your support. If you like it, please consider hitting the like button. And if you like it, hit the subscribe button. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.